Hello, everyone. My name is Conrad on behalf of CameraStuff. Hope you're all doing fantastically well during these load shedding times. So maybe you're viewing us from your mobile phone, or likely if you have some electricity or on your desktop. But yep, here we are. And I'm going to introduce you to a multi-talented photographer by the name of Meghan McCabe. Meghan, how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Hi, Conrad. Very well, thanks, and yourself?
I'm doing very, very well, yeah, all things considered. All right,
Yes.
so
Stage
we're going to have a
6
bit of
and
an
all.
interview. Oh yeah, sorry. So our connection's a little bit off during these load shedding times. So you're gonna hear a bit of crackling, a little bit of delay, but we're just gonna march forward. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read from Megan's website, which is meganmccabe.co.za, and I'm just gonna read the about section just to kind of warm you up to what Megan is all about. All right, so here we go. Hello, my name is Meghan McCabe, and I'm a full-time photographer / video photographer based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm proudly a brand ambassador for Thule, my camera and travel bags, and Olympus, my camera gear. My photographic career started in 2012 and grew rapidly as my passion for capturing the action-packed world of motorsport took over. I won Motorsport South Africa Photographer of the Year in 2013, which launched my then hobby into a full-time career, shooting all forms of racing around the country. It was all about the adrenaline and adventure. As my career grew, my passion changed. It became more about tranquil sunsets and the African bush, more than screeching tires. So I began to explore the world of wildlife, learning and capturing the beautiful planet we call home. I specialize in motorsport and action photography, portraits, and wildlife. This keeps the adventure alive and the passion for photography constantly growing. It also gives me a platform to share with my fellow photographers, hosting wildlife photography courses and photographic walks in the different genres. Quote, when I have a camera in my hand, I know no fear. Quote by Alfred Eisenstedt. All right, so that basically sums it up. So a very
That's me.
talented photographer. So first question I want to ask is there any particular reason why I haven't settled in one genre of photography? Because you obviously branched out into many different niches. Any particular reason why?
It's more about why would I limit myself with one specific genre? So for me, photography it's about adventure, it's about exploring. And shooting multiple genres means that I'm exposed to that adventure and to that exploring. It means that I'm exposed to a lot of different opportunities. And with that comes the factor that then there's a lot of growth opportunities from those experiences. So it's like photographers that have multiple lenses. If you had to photograph everything with one specific lens, you'd have sort of one specific look for those images. So it's the same with the genres. What I can do now is I can take one aspect from motorsport, one aspect or something that I've learned from portrait photography, something I've learned from the wildlife photography, and kind of incorporate them all to try and create different images, to try and yeah, just make my photography very diverse.
Yeah, so it's basically about cross-pollinating the different ways of doing photography into one complete package.
Absolutely, very much so. And I do believe that it makes you diverse and a unique or a dynamic photographer because you can
Okay.
then switch from one genre to the next. And it keeps that passion flowing in a very big way.
All right, perfect. All right, so everybody there in Facebook or YouTube land, if you have any questions to ask Megan, please do so in the comment section and we'll tackle them as we go along.
Yeah.
All right, so any favorite genre of photography that you do and also reasons
So
why?
that would be wildlife. Wildlife is definitely through the years as I've kind of jumped from one genre to the next. Wildlife has always been the one aspect that I've tried to do a lot more of. And the reason is the fact that wildlife is fascinating. Every time you're in the bush or every time you're with wildlife, you will learn something new about an animal, about behavior, and you'll start to pick up, especially if you're with specific animals all the time, you'll start to pick up personality traits with those animals. And then for me, being able to bring out those personality traits in my images, so being able to show people sort of what or who an animal is without needing the words. That's sort of what I love about wildlife. I love the fact that each time you go somewhere, you learn something new.
All right. So for everything you just mentioned there, learning behaviors, kind of learning animal intuition, etc., has that helped you out with people photography as well? Maybe a bit of a simple question, but it kind of ties in with what we mentioned earlier about cross-pollinating different
Cross-pollinating.
photographers.
I think it does help because it gives me stuff to talk about with people. So maybe not so much from a wildlife perspective, but definitely from a motorsport perspective with people, especially if I'm doing a family shoot and or a couple shoot, and the guy is interested in racing or in bikes or in cars. It does make it a lot easier because generally guys don't enjoy portrait shoots. They kind of shy away from them. So now
Mm-hmm.
you suddenly take this environment that they're not interested in being, and we talk about MotoGP, and we talk about this car, and we talk about this bike, and there's so many different elements. So from that side, yes, but wildlife in terms of photography probably just made me quicker, and especially with children, quicker, like with capturing the moments in that.
Okay, perfect. So in regards to your many adventures, I see you're active with rhino conservation as well, and
Yes.
also traveling to different parts of Africa. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
So traveling, I absolutely love traveling. If I could travel as my career, that would be like it. So through my career, I've traveled to Botswana for the desert race, which was also really, really cool. And then I've done a lot of traveling in and around South Africa, which has also been pretty cool because it's been seeing different parts of Africa. Um, and then the rhino experience. So basically, I started working with the reserve a few years ago, documenting the rhino dehorning process and
Mm-hmm.
and learning more about the conservation process with rhinos. So we did the dehorning process, and 8 months after that, we lost one of our females to poaching. Even though we dehorn them, they still get poached. It's not an
Mm-hmm.
end process type situation. So with that, I then thought, okay, here is an opportunity to bring photographers in to get them really close, and I mean really close to the rhinos, to create incredible images, but also hoping to create a passion, hoping to introduce people and give them an opportunity to be really close to the rhinos and to build that love, which then in turn will help with the conservation, will help with people wanting to get involved in conservation projects. But then also on the other hand, it was about bringing money in for the anti-poaching units, because the whole conservation efforts, it costs a serious amount of money. So that's pretty much my rhino experience, and we're sort of developing it a bit more as we go. So we want to include sort of a chance to have dinner. It would be a very simple dinner, but literally have a chance to sit with rhinos in the evening in the bush, and
Mm-hmm.
just also be able to watch them, just be able to kind of just be with them. So yeah, so that's pretty much the rhino experience. And then after lockdown, sort of those type of experiences, I started to look into them a lot more, because a lot of photographers were very, very frustrated at the fact that we couldn't travel, we couldn't go cross provincial borders. So photographers were, oh, they want to get to Kruger, and they want to go here, and they want to go here. So what I started doing is looking local, looking at a lot of the reserves, because we actually have a fair amount of reserves that are within maximum of an hour from Johannesburg, that are or have incredible photographic opportunities. So sort of that was also why I started expeditions or adventures. That's what I'm looking for. Started adventures like this to try and help with conservation, to try and bring or highlight conservation, because images help with conservation in a big way. So yeah, so that's sort of the rhino experience and why I'm trying to build them up.
Yeah, fantastic. I've seen some of the results, and from a photographic standpoint, incredible results, but also a great job that you're doing getting involved here as well. All right, so we
Thanks.
got a question from Martin. Favorite wildlife destination?
Um, so like I said, locally, I'm actually a very local person. So international, I've just spent I spent 4 days in Wangi Game Reserve in Zim. Oh my goodness, that was pure heaven. But locally, I would probably say Dino King. Reason for that is it's literally 102 k's from my house. So it's an hour's drive and it's an easy drive. So you literally get in the car, drive for an hour, get off the freeway, and you're in a Big Five, free roaming Big Five game reserve. Now, a lot of people have had or haven't had great sightings at Dino King. Unfortunately, it is a developing reserve. So it's a very big reserve, but they don't have that many animals yet. But they're constantly bringing in. So it's just, I've had the most amazing sightings there. And for me, it's just the fact that I can drive an hour and be in the bush. So I definitely say Dino King. And probably Ritvlei second. Ritvlei is also Pretoria side. And also just more for birding, Ritvlei is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, seeing your work, it does make me jealous being stuck in studio the whole time. I also want to get out and take some photos of wildlife to make a plan.
Do it, absolutely. So it's actually something that Donna and I do quite a lot. Donna's actually signed in right now. But we call it our mental health day. And we both just break away from our computers for the day. And I mean, for me, it's creating content because I'm trying to kind of build my wildlife content. So break away for the day and just go and sit in the wild.
Now, on topic with that, you do mention wildlife courses and photographic walks as well. Does it tie into the wildlife stuff? The walk specifically, does it tie into the wildlife stuff too?
Yes, absolutely. So we do walks, we do sort of critter walks where we do, or we look for bugs, which is also very, very cool because so many times people focus on big animals. They focus on, I mean, at the reserve that we walk at, there's giraffe, there's zebra, there's wildebeest. You know, they focus on these big animals, which always make for great photos. But then when you start looking at the smaller things, it kind of opens up a very different world. So we do macro or micro or critter walks, and then we do wildlife walks where you get a different perspective walking with wildlife. You can get down and get those lower shots, which, as you know, are kind of key for wildlife.
All right. So I just want to quickly tackle a question here from Andrea. Sorry, I've joined so late. Please can you send me a link so I can watch later? Okay, yes. So everything is uploaded to YouTube. Now, once we're done here, it will be on YouTube automatically and also on Facebook, but I can also drop a link just a little bit later. So yes, you can catch everything later. All right. So in terms of topic with the workshops and the walks as well. So what do you currently have planned and where can people find more information?
So plan-wise, I'll be completely honest, I'm very bad at putting out dates very far in advance. It's something that I'm actually working on. But I have the rhino experience. I have critter walks, which at the moment are a bit cold. We generally meet pre-sunrise and at Cradle Moon, basically, where we walk near the dam. It can be about -6.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Extremely pleasant to walk in. So I've got those workshops, and then I've got the exciting workshop with you guys that's coming up.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about that. So basically, it's a introduction to lighting without all the scary bits. Because when you start doing photography, and when you kind of develop your photography, and you start adding elements in, you start adding flashes, you start adding umbrellas, soft boxes. It is scary. It is daunting. And especially if you do that when people are expecting results. It's like, what do I do with this? And then your client's watching you and you're kind of like, push button. Maybe if I push this one, it'll work. Maybe if I push that one, it'll work. So basically the thought behind the workshop is basically going from step to step. So we start off with natural light. And we'll have a professional model with professional makeup done. And with natural light, we talk more about posing your model, about talking and communicating to your model, which sometimes is also a very tricky task. And as a model, it feels very awkward when your photographer is not talking to you, not working through the experience with you, and not guiding you through the experience. So start off with natural light, kind of find our feel for that. Then we would move on to whatever light modification or lights you have. So whether that be a bare flash, whether that be a flash with a little softbox, whatever light system you have, We would then work with that, and I would show you how to best use that light setup to get great images. And then from there, we'd go into using some of the big and powerful Godox lighting system. So basically, what I would want my or whoever attends this day to walk away with is a less of a fear of working with flashes, b just knowledge about general posing, general working with models, ideas and tips on future shoots, and then also some absolutely awesome photos that they can show off from the day. So yeah, looking very, very forward to that.
Yeah, so excited to have you on board as well. So this will be done on the 30th of July.
Yes,
So time to plan still. So we'll have booking details and more information on the CameraStuff page in due time. So just something to
absolutely.
get excited about. So it is something that is in the pipeline. So a photographic workshop concerning lighting will be done at CameraStuff, hosted by Meghan. It's going to be a bring your camera event as well. So you can bring your equipment and you can play around
Yes,
with the lighting and a model. All right, yeah, so that's in the skunk works. So yeah, more information will be provided in due time.
absolutely.
Great stuff. All right, so we have not a question from Facebook user. Just as a reminder, if you are asking questions or commenting on one of our Facebook groups, so not a page or YouTube, if you are on a Facebook group, your name doesn't pop up. So if you want to ask a question in a Facebook group, just make sure that you kind of just include your name as well. But Facebook user says, no question, just want to say that Meghan McCabe, you are an amazing photographer. Smiley face, big fan.
Thank you so, so much. That really means a lot to me. And it's incredible how there's many times where I'll get comments like that, and it feels very weird for me because I literally am that person that I'm like, all I want to do is take pretty photos. It's actually that complicated. I just want to take pretty photos. So it's always kind of very odd when people are like, oh, your work's amazing. And I'm like, thank you.
All right, so I think it would be a crime not to talk about automotive photography and motorsport photography. So this is
Yes.
how he got started, as you said in your About Me section on your website. So you got started with that. You won awards left, right, and center. So just tell us a little bit more about that and any advice to any newcomers wanting to do motorsport photography.
So I started 10 years ago. Yeah, I started 10 years ago. I got my first camera, and I went to the racetrack, and I fell madly in love with the adrenaline, madly in love with the fumes and the fussness and the challenge to capture those images when the cars are doing what, 180, 200 Ks per hour. That challenge was something else. And then I'll be completely honest, that being a girl in that industry was also quite fun, kind of challenging the boys to step up their game. um, but no, it was just my passion just took off basically. It became an addiction as well. So the more that I did motorsport, I did off-road racing, I did track racing, I did drag racing. It literally became an addiction. It became an adrenaline rush, which is fantastic, but also not fantastic because specifically with off-road images, you start to get closer and closer and closer because you want to create dramatic images. And a lot of the times creating those dramatic images puts you in the most dangerous spots, which is not actually great and definitely not recommended. So then just pushed very, very hard to be in the motorsport industry. And it was an adventure. It was an absolute, absolute adventure. I got to experience so much traveling and I got to experience just so many really cool events. I got to meet Ken Block. I got to meet Travis Pastrana, just some really, really cool people
Wow.
in the industry as well. And photographing them was just like, it was so exciting photographing them. So yeah, it was an industry I never imagined I'd ever go into. And it definitely opened up my career in a very big way. And then you said advice to newcomers. Understand that it's very much not a glamorous industry. Understand that it takes a hectic amount of work. So when I was shooting it professionally, most race weekends would be practice Friday, which would be normally I'd go in a bit later. So maybe 10 o'clock until 5, 6 o'clock. And then Saturday is from sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning if you want to get sunrise until 6, 7 in the evening. Now, the closest racetrack that I have to me is Kyalami, which is still about 30 Ks or 40 Ks from me, whereas Swartkorps is 64 Ks. So you spend 2 full days shooting in, most of the time the track is 34, 35 degrees in summer, or it can be -4, -5 in winter. You are exposed to those elements. You are standing pretty much all day in the sun, in the cold. It is not a glamorous environment. But I say to you that if you have the passion to push through that, and you have the passion and the stamina to do that, then you will make it. But it's also, it is a great environment. It's just a very difficult environment to make any money from. It's financially not a very viable career option.
Yeah, in terms of the cold and the early mornings, if you can get results like this, it's definitely worth it.
It very much is. So this is my pride and joy. This is my slowest pan. And let's actually wait. I want to see any of the viewers put in the comments, guess what shutter speed this is. Because it's always very interesting to see how people interpret shutter speed and kind of what they think the shutter speed would be. So think or guess. Definitely want you guys to guess in the comments what the shutter speed for this shot would be. But basically panning. So this is panning. And panning is a lot of practice. So I run motorsport, wow, from sounding I run motorsport workshops as well. And I guide my photographers. I set their cameras up. I give them all the settings. But one of the key elements that I say to them over and over again, panning is practice, and a lot of it. So this was at the end of a race day. And like I said, I do this weekend after weekend after weekend, and it gets boring, unfortunately. You have a car going, nyong, nyong, nyong. It does get boring if there's no action or if there's no really nice lighting. So end of the race day, this is me sitting on one of the video towers, and I'm literally just going, okay, let's see how low I can go. And because it was starting to get a bit darker, I could then obviously drop my shutter speed lower. Okay, so do we have any comments yet?
We do. All right. So from Mr. Facebook user, just as a reminder, if you're commenting on the Facebook groups, just add your name as well. 1/8. Next up is 1/40th. And from Martin, 1/30. 1/30th.
Good guesses so far.
1/10th. Let's see what else. 1/80th.
All
okay,
right.
So I'm going to leave it there. So who got the closest?
Dun, dun, dun. Facebook user got the closest.
Congrats, Facebook user.
We shall call him Bob. Bob, I don't know what your name is. Okay, so this was 1/6 of a second.
All right. 1/6 of a second.
1/6 of a second. So my ISO, let me just check my settings here. So this was taken on the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II. It is a mirrorless system with the 42-150 Pro. My ISO was 64. It was 1/6 of a second, and it was sitting on f/22.
Oh, wow. Okay, so with that shutter speed, so obviously the panning helps just to capture the car.
Panning helps in a very big way. You have to pan, definitely have to pan to be able to create a shot like that at 1/6 of a second. And it is tricky. And your camera gear is going to make it possible or impossible, depending on in-body vibration. Your ability is also going to make it possible or impossible in terms of how steady your hand is. And something I always teach is the fact that how steady your hand is also depends on what your blood sugar is doing if you have eaten. It's as simple as that, because if you haven't eaten, you're going to be a lot more shaky and jerky. You need to be as stable and as strong as possible.
All right. Okay, I think Facebook user is David from Scotland. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Hello, David from Scotland.
Hope it is the same Facebook user.
I hope so.
Congrats on getting close to the shutter speed. All right,
Yes.
so we're going to walk through other photographs taken by Meghan in a bit. But first, I just want to ask a question. So Megan, what is next? What is around the corner with you? What new adventures are on the horizon for you?
You mean planning? I no, I joke about that, but I'm actually horrific at planning. So the honest answer is I don't know. I've had the most amazing opportunities with my career. So it's literally going to be a case of let's see what opportunities pop up next. In terms of workshops, I've got the workshop with you. I'm hoping to do a lot more rhino adventures, rhino walks. We've got the firefighting demo tomorrow evening, but I'll chat a bit about that with the photo. This Saturday, I've got a photographic stand at a market/networking event. So if you're looking for any headshots, come through. But yeah, basically I'm going to have a black backdrop and creating either, depends on if people want corporate headshots or if they want sort of something more creative, creating black and white portraits. So yeah, so pretty much just see what pops up next.
All right, and all of this info will be available on Facebook, Instagram, I assume. So I'm just going to drop
Yes.
your stuff in the comment section as well. So just going to link you, everyone there in the comment section. I'll link you to Megan's work. All
Fantastic.
Right,
I also have sorry, Conrad. I also have a WhatsApp group where I specifically post if we've got events coming up, if we've got dates coming up, and sometimes I even post. So I try and just get photographers together because sometimes work and having to be a grown-up kind of takes over, which sucks in a very big way. So I try and just encourage people to get out and just come and take photos. So if anybody's keen to join, I can also share the link for that on the post afterwards.
Okay, perfect. All right, so link is on the way. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through some of your images, and you're just going to detail what you did, where it was taken, etc., etc.
Awesome.
Okay, so you mentioned rhinos, and here's an incredible photo. Do you want to walk us through it?
So this is one of our rhinos, that we use or that we have with the Rhino Walk. It's actually the only rhino that got a name, and her name is Mischief, because she is very naughty. Rhinos are actually extremely mischievous. They are very naughty and they're very inquisitive. So this was actually from the first time that I got really close to them. Now, with the rhino dehorning, we got close, but obviously they were darted, so it's a little bit different. But this time, my brother came with me because it was just before he was leaving for South America. And we were sitting in the middle of the bush, in the middle of like these mountains, and these rhinos come to you. Now, the guy that we work with, he has a very, very special bond with them. Without him there, I would definitely not be this close to them. But it's more about the fact that for a couple of seconds or for a couple of minutes, those rhinos trust you. They're inquisitive. So they actively come to you. They actively almost seek your company. So this is Mischief. And she literally, one of the other photos, which I didn't send, but I've posted on my social media, is I was sitting up on the flap of a bakkie. And she came and she literally put her head right next to me, right next to that flap.
Oh, wow.
And it's this moment that when this rhino looks at you, it is honestly pure magic. And that's basically what I wanted to convey in this image. And it's also something that I've dealt with a lot, where people don't really want to photograph rhinos that are dehorned. But unfortunately, that is pretty much going to become the standard. There's very few reserves that still have rhinos that have their horn. And I'd rather see a rhino alive than one that has a horn and is dead type situation. So that's basically it. So this was taken with the Olympus OMD EM1X with a 40 to 50 mil. My ISO was 500, 1/800th of a second, f2.8. So I really like working with very shallow depth of field for a lot of my wildlife images.
All right, so now that you mentioned camera and gear, we have a question from Martin. Are you shooting mirrorless? And if so, how's it changed your photography compared to DSLR?
Yes, so I am shooting mirrorless. So I shoot on Olympus This is my setup, Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II, and changed my photography. It's made me more passionate about my photography because it's a lot easier. It's a lot less weight. So I used to shoot on Nikon, which was still fantastic. But in terms of weight, you know, shooting at a racetrack when you're shooting with a 150, what's it, a 150 600, you're literally standing prepared to take the photo all day. So you're standing like this all day. So I think weight-wise, that was about 5 or 6 kgs. So imagine holding that, 5 or 6 kgs for 8, 9 hours, waiting for the moment. Because the moment that you put that camera down is the moment that something's going to happen in front of you. So the compactness, the weight difference definitely made a very, very big difference in my photography. The fact that it's so much smaller, I can pop it into my small camera bag. Sometimes I even pop it into my handbag if I'm going somewhere and I want to just take it with me. Then it has in-body stabilization, which means that I don't really have to carry a tripod around with me. Now, that makes my life a lot easier. I detest having clutter with me, having like extra stuff that I need to carry. The video function on the camera is beyond phenomenal. And with the in-body stabilization, it just makes videoing so much easier. And specifically with the wildlife, you know, I'm constantly jumping between photos and video. So it's definitely made me more passionate about photography because it's made each shoot a lot easier.
Yeah, I'm still in the old school DSLR, so yeah, it helps build muscle.
But you know what? The reality is we talk, as photographers, we talk so much about camera gear, and it's about this and about that. And the reality is that whatever works for you is what works. So if you're still on DSLR, if you're still on film, and it works for what you want to produce, then that's perfect. I went on a photo walk the other day, and it was so refreshing because you had a lot of newer photographers, and a lot of them are kind of learning and developing their skill. But it was almost about pure photography because there wasn't the pros there. There wasn't like these huge cameras. The one gent was walking around with an iPhone 13, and he was taking photos on that and trying to be creative. And sometimes we put so much emphasis on what brand, what camera, what lens, that we lose the trueness of photography.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's the same with lighting as well, in terms of lighting gear. All right, so to go back to your images, all right. So elephants,
So this was taken in Addo Elephant Park in Eastern Cape, one of my favorite places because I love rhinos. Well, actually, you can see that I love rhinos. But I love elephants probably just as much, if not a little bit more, because of their character, because of personality. So this time that a friend and I went to Addo, there was so many baby elephants. And this is one shot that I've always wanted to get because the herds are so protective of their babies, and they are so watchful and so careful with their babies. I mean, you watch these massive herds moving, but each one is so aware of where these tiny babies are. It's mesmerizing to watch these huge animals protect them. So this shot for me was definitely kind of a lifetimer shot where I wanted to portray that. I wanted to portray how tiny they are compared to the adults, but just how they are cared for. So this was taken on the EM1 Mark II 40-150. So basically this setup right here, and ISO 500, 1/800th of a second, and f3.2. Now, you'll notice with a fair amount of my images, my f-stop is always very low. I shoot a lot on aperture priority, and I want that shallow depth of field. Sometimes I do forget it on f2.8 when it comes to landscapes and elements like that. I really do. But I still find that it works for me.
Okay, awesome. So you mentioned firefighting a couple
Yes.
of moments ago. So with this particular image, do you just want to go into detail with that?
Yes. Okay. So this is with the FTC firefighting training course in Modderfontein. So basically, they're having another one tomorrow night. So what they do is they have this, I'd say it's about a 2-3 story construction, and they pump F-gas and fuel, I think. I know they pump F-gas because you can smell it. And then they ignite it. And that 2-3 story building, the flames reach 5-6 stories high. And then you have, last time there was 4 different fire crews, and they have to put this fire out. Now, for photography, it is insane. Absolutely insane. It is extremely tricky to shoot because just as they ignite the fire, they switch all other lights off. So you literally go from this pitch black environment to this almost completely overexposed environment. So in terms of camera settings, it is extremely challenging to shoot. So again, I shoot on aperture priority. Gasp! I don't always shoot on manual. But it really is absolutely phenomenal to shoot. And what's really nice about the event is the guys encourage photographers. They want photographers to come and photograph. They want to give photographers the opportunity to experience this and to see the power of that fire. And let me tell you, there are times where I'm on the front line. I have quite a few friends in the industry. So it's like firefighters in protective gear, and then there's dumbass Megan standing just behind them with no protective gear. That gets hot. And there are times where I'm literally like, is this going to melt my camera? But I'm too stupid to actually decide to step back. So I'm like, oh, photo. Oh, no, it's melting my camera. Photo. So yeah, I'll pop the info about tomorrow night on the feed as well at the end. And it's a completely free event. There's food stands, and it's actually just a really awesome experience.
I can imagine getting these beautifully backlit shots with the silhouettes.
Yes, incredible. Yeah. That's where I'm planning on going tomorrow night if I get enough interest, because I kind of want to go with a bunch of photographers and kind of guide them on how to shoot it, because it can be very overwhelming to shoot. But normally what I do is create shots like this, create very silhouette-y type shots. But what I'm planning on doing tomorrow night is kind of creating a bit more almost even light or even lit shots, or trying to get more detailed shots where you can see the guy's eyes and his mask and stuff like that. That's kind of my plan for tomorrow night. And then in terms of gear, that was also taken on the EM1 Mark II, 42-150, ISO 400, 1/1000th of a second, f2.8. So again, f2.8.
Yeah, we're looking forward to your results. Can't wait to see.
Absolutely.
All right. So we already spoke about this image. I don't know if there's something else you want to add.
No. Well, actually, no. There is something I want to add. So the car is not pin sharp. Photographers are completely obsessed with pin sharp images. We want as sharp as possible. And when I started editing the shot, I zoomed in and I was literally like, it's not pin sharp. But for 1/6 of a second, I was kind of like, you know what? It is good enough for me. I'm proud of this image. And it's just something I find in the photographic industry where we put a lot of emphasis and a lot of importance on what other people's opinions are. And sometimes that affects our work, it affects our passion, and it shouldn't. If you are proud of an image and you want to show that image off, do it. Seriously, do it. So that's all I wanted to say about that image.
Well, that's wonderful advice. So any photographers watching, that is something definitely to take on board. Photography is very much feelings, but it's not, obviously technical stuff is definitely required. But so looking at this image, it does express exactly what happened on a day, and as a human would see it. So we often are obsessed with tucked, sharp images, but we need to capture what the eye can see or what the brain interprets. I think that's more important.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what's next? Okay, now we're going to do people photography.
People photography.
Okay, so what happened to you on a day?
All right, so this was obviously with absolutely incredible Cosmos that was up Delta. Delta Park was, oh my word, it was such a beautiful scene this year. So this model booked me for a shoot. Basically what's happening here is it's shot with the EM1 Mark II 40-150mm. That's pretty much like my standard go-to lens for most things. I have my 40-150mm, which, because micro four thirds, Olympus is micro four thirds, it's basically a 80-300 f2.8. I have that lens on my camera pretty much constantly. My ISO is 64, 1/400th of a second f2.8. Again, shallow depth of field, but to kind of create that effect behind her where you're getting the really, really nice soft light coming through with the flowers. Now, I did use a flash on this one, so I honestly have a little small Yongnuo TTL flash. I can never remember what they're actually called. And I have a boom stand and I have a softbox. And that is generally my light setup for something like this. And then somebody's generally holding it because it falls over a lot. Which is also, wait, doesn't CameraStuff sell sandbags?
Yes, we do.
Okay, you see? Problem solved. I need to come and buy some sandbags from you.
That's obviously, it's nice to have the little light stand holder as well. So
yes,
if you have an assistant, that's amazing. But no assistant, yes, definitely sandbags are advisable.
Absolutely. It does help having an assistant. And I've actually got this absolutely gorgeous youngster, Mary Ann, who is an upcoming photographer. And her work so far has blown my mind. Seriously, she's doing a lot of portrait work with her little sisters. And her work is literally like, she's 14 years old. And she's been my assistant on a few shoots. And it's really great to have a young assistant on the shoots because they bring a level of excitement with. So this model is absolutely amazing. So I let my assistant take some photos on her camera with my flash trigger and everything. And she was so excited to see the results. But then what I always make sure with my assistants is that I make sure I explain what I'm doing so that they're not just there kind of holding your light and being, oh, this is so boring. They're learning from each shoot. So it definitely does help having an assistant.
What I enjoy about this image is that you didn't blur the background to hell. Typically with people using 1.4 or even 1.2 aperture lenses, it's just blurring everything kind of, well, I like to say that the background is a character as well. And the character of the background needs to either complement or contrast the subject. And it's very good here that you kind of integrated the cosmos as being part of the image instead of just blurring everything.
Yeah. I think everyone aims for that sort of 1.2 look, and it can look great, but I agree with you completely where it kind of obliterates the background.
Okay, question here from David again. Is the native ISO on the Olympus 64?
Remind me, native ISO. I think as far as I can understand, it is a generated ISO. The lowest ISO that the camera actually goes to is you'll notice or see that I'm very much not a technical photographer. So when somebody asks me something like that, I'm like, what's native ISO? So it's on the Olympus system you have a low 64 and a low 100. So as far as I understand, those are generated generated ISOs. I think the lowest native ISO is 200, which is always a question. People are like, should you be shooting with these generated ISOs? And I'll be completely honest, I've never seen a negative impact on my work with a generated ISO.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, let's skip to this one. Okay, tell us about this image.
So this was actually from a bit of a workshop that I presented. So this house that I use, it's in Cradle Moon, and it's kind of this abandoned old farmhouse. And it is so cool. It's got this old fireplace and it's got these wooden staircases, and it's this really, really cool location. So I run a fair amount of my workshops from there because obviously safety is a big factor in South Africa. Safety and locations is a big factor. So this is with Christine. I think you've shot with Christine as well.
I have, yeah.
She is just...
moons ago. Yeah, she's great to work with.
She is an absolutely insane model to work with. And why I love working with her for my workshops is she's a very comfortable model. So she's very good with changing her position. So as the flash trigger, she'll change her look, change her position. So I use her a lot for my workshops because we work very well together. So this was taken with the EM1 Mark II, 40-150. My ISO was on 640 because this specific section, there was no light coming through. It was a very dark section of the house, 1/25th of a second, and f2.8. Now, the 1/25th of a second, remember that flash freezes any movement, which helps with model shoots as well in case the model moves. But obviously, this is me going, Christine, sit very still, please. So what I did with this shot is I had a flash behind her, just a bare flash to give us some nice backlighting to kind of highlight the crown, which, let me add, is made from cable ties, and gold spray paint. Thank you, Donna. Donna's the creative one.
Oh, I see it now. That's
Yep.
cable ties. Wow,
That's cable
creative.
ties. No, it's really fantastic, and it kind of makes a really great exhibit piece. As far as I understand, Donna also put it underwater, so it survived underwater as well. So there was one flash directly behind the model, and then there was one my flash in the softbox just above the model. So obviously I edited that out of the picture, giving us that really nice soft light on her, but then giving us a nice backlight behind as well. And ironically, the chair that she's sitting on, I use that a lot for my shoots. I literally, every jacaranda season, it goes with me to my random street with jacarandas, and that chair is over 100 years old. It's part of my mom's dining room set.
In terms of lighting,
yes.
Yeah, in terms of lighting, is there any go-to combination that you like to work with, in terms of softbox or umbrella, or you're not really particularly fussed?
Softbox, umbrella, softbox with grid. Definitely softbox with grid. I've got an Octobox at the moment. I don't know what size it is. I really cannot tell you what size it is, but I have sort of like a medium-ish, if that's even a thing, size Octobox with obviously the white the diffuser, and I have a grid on it. And then one of my key I think factors is the fact that I use a boom stand. Now, I've destroyed many soft boxes with boom stands. So again, get yourself sandbags. Please get yourself sandbags, because I think I've destroyed about 3 soft boxes, nothing to be proud of, with just being overconfident, going, oh, there's no wind. In the middle of the street, there goes your light.
No, that wind is waiting around the corner. It's kind of sneaking up on you. And
It
same here.
does.
I have a graveyard of soft boxes and umbrellas and whatnot. So definitely sandbags do help.
Yes, very much so. So definitely, a boom stand is kind of has become a kind of key factor in my shooting. Just trying to get that light as close as possible to the model. I'm pretty much always editing it out of my shots. I've actually been concentrating the last couple of shoots, trying to make sure that it's not in my shot, because sitting and editing a softbox out of images is damn annoying, especially if you have a complicated background. It gets so frustrating. But yeah, that's definitely my go-to.
Yeah, I'm also the same in that regard. And 80% of my images, there's a softbox or a light stand in the corner.
Exactly.
I need to be way more mindful of that. Okay.
But it's so frustrating, because getting the light as close to the model is how you produce your best lighting. So it's like win-win. It's never a win-win.
Yeah, so the boom stand, very helpful just to try and get the equipment out of the frame. All right, so you've got some creative lighting going on here.
Yes, so
talk us through
this was a few weeks ago. So basically, this is Ziggy. Ziggy is my makeup artist. She is the most insane and so cool makeup artist. And we planned to go and shoot at some awesome graffiti that I found in Greenside. So we're going to go. Okay, cool. And then you remember a couple of weeks ago, we had that Wednesday that it was like, I don't know, 7 degrees or something. That was the Wednesday we were supposed to go out and shoot. So I became a sissy, and I was just like, I am not going to stand out in the cold. I've got massive thermal jackets, and I've got literally a pair of snow boots, but I am not going to stand out in the cold. So what I did was kind of made like a almost not portable, but a go-to backdrop. I have black material, I have light stands, and I made myself a black backdrop. And Ziggy came over and we had pizza and we created cool images. So basically, this is from that day. So I have 3 flashes here. One obviously to the left of her with a orange gel on it, one to the right of her with a blue gel on it, and then one flash in my softbox with no gel. So that's pretty much the lighting that goes on here. This was taken with the EM1 Mark II 40-150mm. That's kind of, again, that's very much my go-to lens when it comes to portrait. I really don't like shooting with a wider. So I've got a 40-150. I don't really like shooting portraiture with that because obviously it does distort. ISO was 64 1/400th of a second, and it wasn't on f2.8. It was on f4.
Oh, wow.
Shocking. I know. So far, everything's been 2.8, 2.8, 2.8. Now, the one thing that's actually pretty cool with the Olympus system, and I don't know if, I think it's just with the flashes that I use, it syncs at 1/400th of a second, which is actually pretty cool because then it obviously cuts out a fair amount of the ambient light.
Oh, that's very useful for outdoor settings, and also using wider apertures, your favorite 2.8.
My favorite
in terms
2.8.
of this creative lighting, so you're going to do this at the workshop as well?
Yes,
experiment with
definitely.
gels and different light
Definitely
sources.
incorporate gels, because working with gels can be tricky. So I haven't had that much experience working with them. So this day was kind of like a play day. And one of my key factors that I was trying to do this day was to make sure that the gels didn't fall onto her face. Because so many times we do creative lighting and you'll get like a blue light on her nose or an orange light. You can see a little bit of orange on her cheek, but it's very tricky to make sure that it doesn't touch. And especially now with our hair movement. So I use a sort of triangular, what's it called? Reflector. And that is how we create our own wind. We call it wafting, which is probably not the right term, but basically that's how we create wind on our shoots. And yeah, so trying to create interesting shots with gels and kind of get a clean image, get a clean face light is sometimes very tricky.
It is tricky, and using gels does teach you a lot about white light photography in general as well, because you can't hide mistakes with gels.
You use a heck of a lot of gels in your shoots, and I mean, your results that you produce are absolutely out of this world.
Yeah, so it's a lot of trial and tribulation, as I said. With gels, it does teach you a lot about photography and lighting ratios and whatnot. Carefully aiming your light, because as I said, with gels, obviously the blue light, if it's not where it is supposed to be, you're going to see it obviously in the image. So it just helps you to be a little bit more meticulous and a bit more specific with your angles of light.
Absolutely, but like you just said, now it's about playing around. So sometimes having sessions like this, if you've got most photographers have wives, most photographers have daughters, have sons, have whatever. If they aren't sick of you with a camera, then you're not doing it right. So using whoever is around to capitalize and to practice your lighting will help you grow your lighting and grow your photography in a big way as well.
Yeah, the most images I have are of a mannequin head and of a couple of pugs. So a lot of trial and tribulation, running after the pugs and stabbing the mannequin head.
Remember the mannequin head. I remember the mannequin head in a big way.
She's full of cracks now.
She didn't age well.
Now she's a soldier. Okay, this image I very much like. So tell us a bit more about this.
All right, so this gent is a South African opera singer. I fell in love with his voice when he was Phantom in Phantom of the Opera. His voice is absolutely incredible. My mom and I have been to see most of his shows. Jonathan Rocksmith. And basically what happened with Jonathan is, like I said, I'm a huge fan. And the one day I saw that he posted something on Instagram. I was obviously stalking him on Instagram. he posted something and I kind of recognized where he was. And I was like, whoa, wait, are you in that, like this area? He was quite close here, close to where I am. And I was like, and then I kind of just thought, you know what, I have nothing to lose. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, you know, I'd actually love to shoot with you some point. Let me know if you're keen. And he replied and he voice noted. And I mean, like I said, his voice is, so I kind of died. I had a very like, oh my God, moment. But then I started working with him. So this was our third shoot. And this was when, obviously, when theaters were completely shut down, completely closed. He managed to get permission to shoot at Monty, which was absolutely awesome. And the other pictures that we actually shot of this event are literally all over Monte Casino now. They were used in a promo for one of his shows, which was actually really awesome. We kind of hadn't planned, or I think I hadn't planned. I think he had sneakily planned that he would be using these. But basically, this shot was taken with the EM1X, and this was a 1240. This wasn't a 4150. I do have another lens. But this is also kind of one of those shots where you can shoot interesting portraits that are with a wider lens. You just have to be very, very careful in making sure that your person is sort of in the center of the image or as far away from the corners as possible to make sure that there's no warping, there's no distortion. So this is ISO 320, 1/60th of a second, and f2.8. And this is one of those images that I actually just spoke about in terms of editing a softbox out of. I am horrifically bad in remembering to take a pre-photo to edit then or to overlay. I am so bad. And then I get home and I curse myself because I'm like, why didn't I take a pre-photo that doesn't include the softbox? So this took a heck of a heck of a lot of editing to get the softbox out. But basically the softbox was kind of to the left of him. So it was very intense trying to edit it. And then trying to balance the light in this situation is tricky because you want to incorporate flash, but you don't want it to kind of be an unnatural shot, if that makes sense, lighting wise.
You don't want it too flashy.
Yes, that's sometimes very tricky. It's sometimes very, very tricky trying to find that balance. Going, okay, I'm going to add flash to the shot, but I also still want a level of ambience. And especially for a shot like this where you want to see the auditorium, you want to see the empty seats behind him because it kind of creates that ghostly effect type situation. So this is still one of my absolute favorite shoots, favorite moments. And we also only had, I think we had like an hour to shoot, and we did like so many different looks. But it was literally like go, go, go. And that's where practicing. And I definitely don't do enough practicing because I still get so nervous for each shoot. I arrive and I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I kind of find my flow. But practicing definitely helps that when you get put into a situation like this, you can quickly figure out. You can go, right, I want that light there. I want that setting. You can kind of, your brain gets into that mode. So practicing helps a lot.
Okay, so last slide for now. Here we are on your African adventures, I assume. So, all of these.
All right, so I'm going to start with the image on the right-hand side. So this is Victoria Falls. If you've ever been to Victoria Falls, it is pure heaven, pure heaven. It is also very, very, very wet. Nobody actually describes or tells you how wet you get when you go to Victoria Falls. So we literally walk in and the people are like, don't you want to buy some rain covers for your cameras? And I'm like, no. Why would I want to do that? My cameras are weatherproof and waterproof. And they are.
Mr. Olympus.
Hey, you know what? If I'm gonna represent a brand, I'm gonna push the cameras through as much as they can take to know that I'm representing a brand that isn't gonna break.
Yes, also importantly, the lens is also waterproof, water resistant as well.
Yes,
okay, good.
So,
that's because I have a water resistant camera, but a lot of my lenses aren't. This is something I need to be careful with.
Yes. No, both. So I had what lenses did I have? I had a 1240, which is weatherproof, my 4150 weatherproof, and then a 300mm, all weatherproof. But they definitely got put through their paces. Look, I mean, even pre Vic Falls, I put my lenses. I mean, there's quite a few photos on my Instagram where people are like, oh, gasp, look, your camera's covered in mud. But like I said, I want to know what sort of the end end game, what's going to kill the camera. And unfortunately, disclaimer, I actually did kill one of my cameras at Vic Falls. Ironically, the camera that's actually I'm using now as my my live camera, I killed it. So the second day we were at the falls, we were in Zambia. It stopped working, and I took the battery out, and I took memory cards out, and they were both dripping. So I literally drowned it, and I thought, okay, that's not great. That's really not great. But it is also my camera that I've had for the last 5 years. So I mean, the seals are definitely going. It has been used a heck of a lot. So I was kind of like, okay, you know what, that's okay. So put it in my camera bag, kind of forgot about it until I got home, was going to take it in for a service, and thought, you know what, let me try and pop a battery in and see if it works. Put a battery in, camera switched on, no issues at all. And like I said, it's literally the camera I'm using tonight. So again, attesting to the durability of the Olympus system. But my gear got completely wet. So coming back to the picture. The picture on the right was taken with the brand new OM Digital Solutions. So that was the name change that Olympus went through. OM Digital Solutions OM1. That is the newest Olympus camera. It is absolutely insane. And one of the really cool features that the camera has, it has built-in ND filters. So this day that we went to the falls, I was a little bit bleak because we didn't have any sunshine, which means that we didn't really get the rainbows that everyone talks about at the falls. But we got these dark, dramatic clouds, which then also meant that it was a lot darker, so I could drop and do a lot more longer exposures. And it's something I hadn't really seen of the falls. You see these amazing photos, but you never really see longer exposures where you're seeing sort of the flow of the water. So this was with the OM1, with those ND filters, with that setting activated. So just a very cool setting.
So with built-in ND filters, kind of makes traditional ND filters feel a bit Neanderthal technology.
It does, absolutely. Because also you're not fiddling. You're not fiddling. Because I'm very clumsy when it comes to putting stuff on, so I'd end up dropping a filter. But you literally go into the menu, you get the settings, and off you go. You can create images like this. So it really is a great feature on that camera.
All
and
right,
then,
so
yeah.
image on the left.
Okay, so image on the left. So this was on, where were we? This was on our day 4 of being in Victoria Falls. And this morning we went through the Victoria Falls Hotel, which was also flipping heck. It's so weird though. You arrive at this old Victorian hotel, and we arrived at 6 a.m, and you walk through and you're waiting for somebody to be like, excuse me, like, what do you want here? Because I mean, it's like, geez, I don't entirely know how much it is per night, but it's not cheap. So here come these 2 tunnies, and we're like, okay, we're going to walk through the hotel. So we literally just walk straight through, and we're exploring a little bit, and nobody asks any questions. Everyone is as friendly as can be. And so it was very odd. But you walk through, and I mean, this hotel just blows your mind with how beautiful it is. And you walk through the second set of doors, and this is what greets you. So this is the bridge between Zimbabwe and Zambia. We actually walked across this to get to Zambia, and it's such an amazing experience walking across it. And I then set up cameras, and this was part of a time lapse that I did. I literally had cameras running. I had 2 different cameras running the entire time, trying to get the sunrise and trying to get that whole time lapse effect of the sun coming up. So that was taken with EM1 Mark II, 4150, ISO 500, 1/64,000th of a second, and guess what? f2.8. I told you, my camera is pretty much always an f2.8. I kind of forget it there. And then when it comes to images like this, I'm like, this should have been a lot higher, shouldn't it? I'm like, oops. So yeah, this was all part of my Zim experience, and it really was out of this world.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so if you guys out there want to see more of Megan's photos, you can obviously check her website, meganmccabe.co.za. A couple of different categories. We have portraits, wildlife, Sorry, slow internet. But yeah, you can see everything on Meghan's website, meghanmccabe.co.za. I'll drop that in the comments section right now.
And then also I have my photo walks up there. So I'll definitely be updating that because I'm pretty bad at updating that. And then I also do wildlife canvases. So I try and create these like really cool black and white pictures.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so to round up our interview, I'm just going to ask you a couple of quick fire questions.
Awesome.
And just to kind of dig more into you. So just going to get rid of this guy. All right, Meghan, if you reversed time 10 years, what new advice would you have given your younger self?
That would have been that everything looks intimidating at the time or until it's your time. So when I started, everything looked terrifying. From how expensive camera gear was to lighting to photo opportunities to all of it just looked utterly terrifying and utterly scary. I was literally like, what am I doing? So my advice would be to look at every new opportunity, new photo shoot, new genre as an adventure and rather be excited. Look at it as a chance to grow versus being scared of it.
Okay, wonderful. Next question. Any advice to newcomers?
Advice to newcomers would be, where is it? Oh, there it is. Be strong, but don't be arrogant. So look for ways to learn from other photographers, whether they are younger than you, whether they are older from you. But key is to just stay as humble as possible.
Okay, great. So anybody in Facebook and YouTube land, if you have any other questions to ask, please do so. Got a question here from Nikki Volmerans. Have you ever played around with water drop photography?
Not recently. It is actually something that I have been thinking about and have been actually, I must do this. I did a fair amount of that kind of photography when we were in lockdown because obviously I was very bored. But I'll be completely honest, I haven't done it recently. It's definitely something that I want to try, especially with gels. Definitely want to play around with gels with water drop photography.
All right. Next question from my side. Is there anything in the industry that you'd like to see changed?
Definitely, I would think, or I would like the same recognition and protection that other artists, such as musicians, get. So, if you've tried recently to load a video onto YouTube, onto Facebook, onto Instagram, and you use any music that is copywritten, Facebook and Instagram immediately chucks it off. They immediately throw it off. So having that same protection and that same recognition of our work. So if a company takes our image without permission, if somebody posts it on Facebook as their own, having that same effect would be wonderful.
Oh gosh, yeah, I really like that. A good idea of after loading a YouTube video, you get a warning as well if it's your content.
Yes. Exactly, absolutely. So having that same kind of respect in the industry, having that same kind of protection, it would be so much nicer, that your work is protected, that your work is copywritten.
Okay, I like that answer a lot. Okay, next question. What are your 3 biggest achievements?
Okay, so biggest achievements, starting with 2013 when I won Motorsport South Africa Photographer of the Year, which was really, really great. First woman and youngest to win that award. So that really, really sort of boosted my career in a very, very big way. Kind of got my name out there a lot more. Then becoming a global brand ambassador for two global companies, or let me put this differently, becoming a brand ambassador for 2 global companies. Firstly being Tuli, they supply me with all of my camera bags and all of my travel bags. And then Olympus, or like I said, they just rebranded in Digital Solutions, and they supply me with all of my mirrorless camera gear. And then third one was winning that the Wilderness Photographic Competition. I won the conservation category in 2019, which is what gave me the opportunity to take my mom, first time out of South Africa, to Zimbabwe, and just on a bit of an adventure. So definitely those are kind of my 3 biggest.
Yeah, well done. A lot of things there to be proud of.
Thanks.
Okay, last question. What is on your photography dream list? Like people, places, events, etc. that you want to shoot, and why?
Everything. That's actually the simplest answer. No, I want to explore the world. I want to see everything. I want to learn so much more about different people, different experiences. But a few of the things that I really, really want to do is I want to go to Uganda to photograph the gorillas. That for me would definitely be an absolutely phenomenal experience. I want to go to Egypt to photograph the tombs and the pyramids, but then also to document the people, because I think countries like that have very diverse and very interesting people. I want to photograph Isle of Man TT because those guys are crazy. I want to photograph MotoGP races because, again, those guys are absolutely insane. And the images that the photographers produce, because they're on some of the best racetracks, best bikes, and everything looks pristine. And then I definitely want to go back to South America, back to Chile, and down south to Patagonia. And then basically I want to take a model with me to all of these places and produce absolutely incredible portraits. So everything, like I said, the world, I want to see everything and learn everything and photograph everything.
Well, Megan, thank you for joining us. It's been a fantastic interview. Hope everyone out there has learned quite a lot.
Yes.
If you want to follow Megan, obviously the website's available, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Everything is in the comment section for you to follow. So if you do export the world still, going to South America, Egypt, Uganda, love to see your results then.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Unless you guys there in Facebook or YouTube land has any further questions, I think that's basically us.
Thank you so much to everyone for joining. And like I said, if you guys want to join on any of the adventures, on any of the workshops, we'll definitely be posting some information up soon. But thank you so much to Conrad and to CameraStuff for the invite for tonight's live. It's phenomenal and it's fantastic sharing my photographic passion with people.
Yeah, that's very lovely having you, and thank you for the nice words. So, okay, so as I mentioned, if no further questions, I see nothing as of yet. So we'll still hang out afterwards, obviously, with comments. So if you're watching this after the live, so on YouTube or Facebook, anywhere, you can still ask questions. We still hang around, and so we'll answer them right then and there. Okay, so I think that's pretty much us done. So again,
Awesome.
thank you, Megan. It's been a wonderful chat. Martin also agreeing. Brilliant chat, guys. Really enjoyed it. So
thanks so much. And thanks so much for joining us, Martin.
Okay, so I think that's us saying goodbye. So hopefully you have electricity. Hopefully you're nice and warm. So that's us. Cheerios. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.